They saw her first as a smear of gray against heavier gray, a low steamer shouldering through cold swells while sleet rattled the wheelhouse windows. Spray struck the glass and froze in uneven plates. In that weather, a whistle carried far, but the sound that reached back was thin, more breath than call. The other captain lifted binoculars and saw a ship trimmed low at the bow, taking seas that ran aft in sheets. He logged the sighting, eased his own course, and watched the stranger fade into snow. Bannockburn was a working ship, steel-hulled and narrow, built to move grain out of the lakehead before the locks closed for winter. Her crew was young, her officers seasoned, and her engine had pushed through more than one early snow. The night she cast off, wheat went down hatch by hatch, canvas pulled tight, dogs hammered home. Lines cleared, the horns sounded, and she slipped past the breakwater toward open water. In the long heave of Superior, she settled into a familiar rhythm, the tremor of the propeller, a cough from the stack, lantern light sweeping over ice building on railings. The radio room copied weather that slid from bad to worse. South wind fell out. Northwest punched in. Snow arrived sideways. Lighthouses along the north shore made their notes without drama. A steamer matching her proportions beat past at dusk. The keeper at Caribou Island, posted near rock that has taken more hulls than anyone cares to count, watched a vessel pacing outside shoals where bottom rises too quickly. He logged a freighter off the reef, too close to the teeth, laboring oddly, as if something was wrong under the waterline. By morning, no word had come. Grain buyers waited for a whistle that never arrived. Owners sent wires along the chain of ports, asking for any sign from tugs, lights, or passing crews. The captain who had watched the smear fade reported a steamer low in the bow, stubborn in weather, last view lost in sudden gray. It was a picture built of cold colors and guesswork. Searchers worked the obvious places first. Life-saving stations scanned shore ice for wreckage. Cutters traced the lee of islands and the drift paths of tarred planks. Nothing with a name washed up. A day became another. Messages turned from clipped to anxious. Families lit windows late and braced for the knock that said nothing more than what silence had already said. Theories stacked on desks. Some said she struck 6-fathom shoal off Caribou Island, the hard ridge that has opened more than one hull. Others swore she foundered farther south, where cross seas twist a vessel until cargo shifts and a bow tank takes water. Old engineers told stories about brittle steel in sudden cold. Boiler men argued back that an engine failure alone does not sink a boat. Superior still needs an opening, and when it finds one, it takes it fast. Weeks later, a section of decking and a sliver of a name board turned up on a frozen shore. A life preserver reached a fishing town, but the lake gives up such things when it wants, and never with an explanation. None of it proved where the hull lay. Grain floats for a time. If any escaped, it disappeared under ice and gulls. Without bodies and without a clear field of debris, even insurance reports came hedged. Families gathered in church basements while representatives repeated what had been said on the docks. The ship was missing, presumed lost. There were rooms where people spoke of pay owed, and rooms where they did not speak at all, except to read the last letters sent from the lakehead. Wives folded sweaters and set them back on shelves because there was nowhere else to put them. Parents held photographs and stared through the paper as if focus could make a door open. When the first winter gave way, the story didn't stop. In the years that followed, captains who had run the route long enough to know better said they sometimes saw her. It started the same way, with a shape ahead where there should only have been weather. On starless nights, when snow ran like smoke, a light showed where charts showed nothing. A watchman called the bridge, and the man on the wheel eased off to give room to a steamer he could not raise on the radio. Up close, the ship looked older than it ought to, paint worn, stack plain, wake missing. Then it thinned into snow as if distance had closed in a breath. Stories traveled port to port the way working rumors do, quietly, and from the mouths of men who avoid the dramatic. A tug out of Whitefish Bay reported a near miss with a low freighter that never appeared on the slate at tie-up. An oarboat off the Keweenaw called a position for a vessel and received only silence, though the mate swore he could read letters on the counter when she crossed his light. A winter crewman on a package freighter described standing at the break of the deck while a ship slid past without a sound and left nothing but a line of flattened snow on the water. The name attached itself to the sightings, the same way it attached to the disappearance. Bannockburn, the Flying Dutchman of the inland seas. Explanations shift with the teller. Some say she left with damage from a grounding and stress finally found the fault. Others say a reef was eyed too closely and a turn taken too late. The less dramatic, more likely truth is simpler. A lake that big needs only one mistake at the wrong time. Occasionally, divers came back with stories of steel at a depth that hurts the ears, a freighter sitting upright with hatch covers peeled like cards. Photographs were too murky to settle anything. Historians measured rivet patterns, compared scantlings, and shrugged. Superior keeps more than one hull from that era down there, and a camera on a hard day will make any ghost you ask it to. The ship on film could have been any of several losses. For the families, the silence was a sentence without a verb. Without a grave, grief stays in motion. Wreaths went over the side from other decks in late season, and bells tolled at memorials where men in pea coats took off their caps, bowed their heads, and then went back to work. Every time a gale slammed loose ice into a lighthouse or radio squelch erased half a word, there was a pause that said her name even when no one spoke it. What the record shows is narrow and unromantic. A steel freighter loaded with wheat left the lakehead in marginal weather. She was seen behaving oddly near treacherous shoals. She did not arrive. No distress call made it ashore. No wreck with certainty carries her name. Everything after that belongs to the part of Superior that does not care about paperwork. The bottom moves, soundings change, hooks snag clay. Still, on some nights a pilot looking into snow will ease the rudder to starboard for a shape he thinks he sees, because it costs nothing to give a ghost a little room. He'll hold that line until the feeling passes and the chart and the compass, those old dependable friends say he can come back on course. He'll make a mark in the log about visibility and wind because he has to, and he'll leave out the part about the freighter that never answered a call. Bannockburn vanished, and yet she has not finished her route. She works the hard water between reef and headland in a loop that ends wherever someone looks away. Men who insist they are practical have watched a light grow out of weather and fade into it again, and they have gone below and sat with coffee in their hands longer than coffee stays hot. The lake offers no correction. It lets the stories run alongside the charts like a second shoreline, not to mislead, but because some trips never fully dock. Thank you for listening to The Sunken Ledger. Subscribe for more true stories from the depths.